Hello, buddy. How you doing? Hope everybody's doing good. So, not really of a topic tonight. Just going to be looking at a few things. I'll put something on the screen in a minute. Just talking to the chat, really. Get to know you all a little better. See if anybody wants to come in and have a chat. Maybe talk about some of the things that you want to talk about. Just a minute. I've just got to sort something out a little bit. Right. So first up, let's talk about this, because this is something that the Reform supporters, Nigel Farage supporters, really don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the fact that Reform has dropped 2% in the YouGov poll. They were bigging it up the other day, saying, look how far up we are in the YouGov polls. Well, this month's polling intentions have come out and they've dropped 2%. No word about this whatsoever. Obviously, they're not going to say that they've dropped 2% in the polls. Some are actually estimating that with voting intentions, they've dropped as much as 5% in the polls. But they're not going to they really aren't going to talk about that, are they? So over the last few days, I've had a few people come into my videos, the Farages, the supporters of Nigel Farage. So let's have a look at a few of their comments, because I want to cover their arguments. So we'll drop this one first. Right, so this is one I got, I think it was today actually. Another channel that does what right-wing channels do. Attack your own. Well, the Reform Party isn't a right-wing. It's not a right-wing party, so I'm not attacking it, am I? It's left-wing, really. But he goes on to say this: attack your own. I think you guys don't want power. You just want to abuse people. How am I abusing people? By stating facts and showing people what the Reform Party is doing. That's not me abusing anything. That's just me showing people what the Reform Party is doing. If you want to spout, where is your party? Why don't you stand up and take responsibility? No, it's all about slagging off anyone who does. I'm no fan of political class, but you're often offering nothing. Really? I think I'm offering an alternative opinion on the Reform Party. And I get it. People don't like it. They don't like having things that they are supporting criticised. But it's important that we hold these political parties to account. And I'm not just talking about reform either. All political parties need to be held to account. And that's all I'm doing. And just because now it's the Reform Party I'm criticising, somehow I should just shut my mouth for the sake of diversity, I guess. It's amazing. And I'll get to chat in a bit. I just want to cover some more of these arguments because they're quite interesting. So that was the first one that I got. But I've deliberately removed the names because I don't want people to go and find these people and give them trouble. I'm attacking the argument, not the person making the argument. So this was another one. Yes, but Vindicate is a UKIP voter. So of course you're going to spew out all of this nonsense. So by nonsense, you mean verified facts and research that I've done about the Reform Party and what they're actually doing, and what they're doing by their own mouths as well, by their own words. So I'm not spouting nonsense, am I? This is a very tiny video group. They always go for that, don't they? Well, if I'm only a tiny video group, why do you care? Why do you care that I'm making the videos that I make? If I'm so tiny, then I should be so insignificant that I don't bother you and you can just stroll on by. But no, it's because I'm criticising the Reform Party and you just can't take it. You can't take the fact the Reform Party isn't the party that everybody thought it was going to be. I'm one of those people. I voted for them in the last general election. I honestly thought they were going to be a force for change, but they're not. And I had to admit that to myself and say, they're not the party for me. It's time to find something new. I'm just honest about it and logical about it. Other people aren't. Other people are tribalistic and they will stay with the Reform Party until it goes down, till it sinks, basically, from what I've seen, because some people can just not accept the facts, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't know Runcorn very well. The other is a Labour stronghold. It's important to get a reform win. I'm guessing she's talking. This person's talking about the new. Is it parliamentary candidate for Runcorn? So this is from my video today, obviously, and they go on to say this. Well, other than Labour stronghold, it's important to get a reform win. I'm guessing she's got a few lefty tendencies. So let's look at those lefty tendencies. She supports drag queen story time, which is basically brainwashing our kids in wokery and obscenity at a very young age. But let's not forget, right? These drag queens are more or less they're a sex act. They're an adult act and should be nowhere near our children whatsoever. And this new Reform MP candidate actually supported that stuff. And don't give me this crap about, oh, it was a civic duty because she was the mayor. If she had any civic duty, she'll be standing against this and saying, no way, that this is not how children should be educated. This is when they're a lot older, when they're 18, they're adults and they can make up their own minds about this stuff. And then they can go and see this sort of stuff. Not when they're in infant school and junior school. To us, with it, not until they're 18, in my opinion, they should be subjected to any of this because their minds are still developing. So she's got a few leftist tendencies. Everybody, yeah, right, okay, whatever. Wow. But also heard she wants to get the migrant hotel closed down in her area. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Couldn't she just be a person that's just, she's an ex-Tory. Maybe she's just trying to save a job and she's just telling everybody what they want to hear, because I don't believe that a leopard changed its spots that quick. Not so long ago, she was a supporter of refugees coming to her constituency. She was in favour of drag queen story time. But now we're supposed to believe now she's totally against all that. What a load of rubbish. And anybody who believes that she's changed the spots is gullible. I've got a bridge to sell you. I really have. Labour area. Reform will need someone that at least a bit lefty to attract disgruntled Labour. Wow. Oh my God. Right. So it doesn't matter that the candidate is just total shit. So long as we get a win. Yay. Slow clap, everybody. Slow clap. We got a win. We got a win in Runcorn. Our candidate is absolute shite and will do nothing to help the people of their constituency. But hey, yeah, Reform got a win. What is the point in putting an MP candidate in place that is worthless, that is more than likely going to go defect to another party as soon as she's elected to Parliament? What is the point in having a candidate like that? It's not a win, is it? It's not a win. What Runcorn could have done with is a local person being selected by the Reform Party and saying, yeah, you've lived in this area all your life. A person who knows the issues and what needs to be sorted in Runcorn, and try and get them elected to Parliament so they can make a real difference in their constituency. But oh no, Reform has to ship in somebody else, because that's what they've done. The original candidate for that area has been sidelined to parachute this person in to this seat, because not a lot of people know that. She's not the original candidate for that area. Another guy has been campaigning for years for this, but he's been sidelined. This is what Reform do all the time. They replace their candidates with different people all the time. And now they're going to shove this waste of skin in and try and get it elected. Unbelievable. These people are just ridiculous. And these arguments are just poor, weak, and pathetic. There's no substance to them at all. They're basically saying, oh, well, we need a win. Reform needs a win. Well, yeah. So what? So what if you win? So what if you win this constituency? So if you get this this next MP into Parliament, what is she going to do? The Reform Party is an absolute joke. They're a joke. And I keep getting this argument as well all the time. It's like, who's going to vote for UKIP? They're not going to get even 2% of the vote. These were all arguments used against the Reform Party over, 4 years ago, before they were polling at the high levels they are now. And look where Reform is. And that's only because people got behind them, because people started signing on to be subscribers, because they're not members. They're not members at all. That's another argument. They're not members. You've got no control in your party. You've got no democratic control. You're a subscriber. You're paying £25 and you've got no say. You're a subscriber. It's like subscribing to Sky TV. Yeah, you're subscribing to Sky TV, but you've got no say in how Sky TV is run or anything like that, have you? That's exactly what you are as a Reform subscriber. Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef cannot be removed from their positions because they're directors of a company. They own shares. You can't remove them. You can't vote them out. So you've got no democratic vote in your party. No matter what you say, you've got no democratic vote. And what is the process that they had in their constitution? Over 50% of the subscribers have to write into, I believe it's the board, and then the board can just simply ignore that 50% and just say, no, we're not getting rid of anybody. So how is that any use to anybody anyway? It's ridiculous. You've got no democratic vote in the Reform Party, so don't pretend that you have. You haven't. And then they're coming down saying, UKIP's not going to do anything. UKIP's not. Who's to say what's going to happen in the next 4 years? Who's going to say? People saying this exact same thing about the Reform Party 4 years ago. Reform's going to do nothing. Reform's going to split the vote. Reform's going to do this. And now look where they're polling. They're going to tank. That's going to go because of what they've done. They're not going to stay at the levels they're at now. They're already falling in the polls. We've seen it because people are just like unsubscribing. They're walking away from Reform Party to UKIP, which is growing its ranks, which is building infrastructure as we speak, ready. Reform is done. They're done. They're a nothing burger party. They're empty. They're all front and no substance. That's just fact. Just fact. It's just Farage in front of a microphone making shit up as he goes along. That's all it is. Right, so look at some of the comments. I'll go to the beginning of the comments and we'll see what people have been saying. It's just all hello greetings. Hello everybody, how you all doing tonight? I just want to say thank you to everybody that's subscribing to my channel, sharing my videos, liking them, commenting. It's much appreciated. The channel is growing rapidly, so thank you for that. And the more we grow, the bigger the reach we have, and the more people we can, inform about what's going on in our country. I don't really focus on anything outside of our country because I don't see the point. My concern is this country and what's wrong with it. That's all I'm bothered about, really. I might go into some other things sometimes if it affects our country, but as far as I'm concerned, the state of our country is the most important thing at the minute. So look, right, so first comment, get rid of that. The farmers were out protesting again the other day. It shows how fed up they are with Keir Starmer and his fools. Exactly. Saw that as well. I've heard that some French farmers are actually coming over to actually help our farmers protest. That could get very interesting, especially if farmers decide to try and change their tactics to more direct methods, if you know what I mean. Good to see. The Farage fanships will still fantasize, though. Yeah, exactly. They will. Why would anyone want to stick with Keir Starmer after what he and his Nazi regime have done? I've got no idea. I've got a sneaking suspicion that the reason the Labour Party is polling so high is because of all the recent arrivals, and it's paying off for them. It's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily English people that are saying they would vote for Labour. It's all the new arrivals and all the people that are getting the benefits paid for them, if you know what I mean. That demographic that has been reported to be getting more benefits than anybody else, including native Brits. You all know who I'm talking about. I hope the poll is wrong. It's not, unfortunately. I was watching Reform Conference earlier, and there were more UKIP supporters there than hypnotised reformers. Yeah. There's always a 3% drift. Oh, here we go. There's always a 3% drift on polls, and YouGov is notoriously inaccurate. But all the shit Reform have done in the last 14 days, they can expect nothing else. Even today, there's been more. Yeah, exactly. We'll get into that a bit later. I'm not going to go into the full KC report that Reform's brought out, because other channels have already covered all that. And to be honest with you, it's a bit heavy, and I'm not really into that sort of thing. But I think we all know and realise that Reform have absolutely fitted up Rupert Lowe in that report. That was deliberate. I think the Reform Party was expecting some kind of announcement about a new party, and they thought they could torpedo Rupert and Ben Habib's moment by releasing that to try and do some damage. And wisely, they've not announced anything yet. That is coming, by the way. There is something definitely coming down the grapevine with those two guys. They're keeping the cards very, very close to the chest. I got asked in the comments the other day, like, well, why aren't Rupert and Ben Habib coming out and, disclosing what they're doing? Well, when you've got people like Nigel Farage with connections everywhere, and they will know, they don't want anything being sabotaged. So they're going to play the cards very close to their chest until they're ready to reveal everything. And I hope it's going to be like an Avengers moment where they've got this amazing team of people that we all know that are all going to form this new party. And while we're on this subject, I'm going to criticise UKIP supporters a little bit. Not everybody, but a few that I've noticed on X getting a bit shirty that Rupert Lowe is mentioning Christianity. Now, Rupert Lowe was mentioning Christianity in relation to that school banning Easter in favour of Refugee Week. Now, it's a good thing, right? We shouldn't see enemies in everybody just because they're talking about the same subjects that you're talking about. Rupert Lowe isn't stealing anything from UKIP. If anything, UKIP should be glad that a member of parliament is speaking about the topics that they're speaking about, because it gives weight to their argument as well. This isn't a time for egos, and I'm seeing egos emerging again. Egos shouldn't be emerging in this situation. This is about forming alliances. You need to see whatever Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib form as something to be an alliance with. Yeah, we need alliances. If we're going to win this thing, you've got to think country first, personalities last. What we, the people of this country, want is for direct action. We need a party that is going to take our country back. I'm going to go with whatever is polling at the time that's going to be the best option. Obviously, I'm not going to be voting for Reform. Not a chance in hell am I voting for Reform, because they're just a joke. But, I'm going to get behind whatever alternative party is polling the highest at the time. And my advice is everybody should do the same, because we need a proper right-wing party that is going to take this country back, because the others just don't have it in them. Do you really see Nigel Farage and Richard Tice taking on the massive civil service if they can't even take on people in interviews? You've got to think about it. You've got to look at their actions and not what they're saying. They may talk a big talk in their press conferences, in their own rallies, where it's an echo chamber, basically. But how are they going to be when they're actually facing the enemy that wants to destroy our country? How are they going to face them people? And from what I've seen of them, they're not going to face them. They just don't have it in them. I wish they did, but they don't. Right, we'll go straight to. I've looked at a few of the back. We'll go to the front of the chat now. Right. So look. Reform simps are not wrong that the Uniparty is awful and they need to defeat them is paramount. But the detriment to ignore the fact that Reform is just as bad is just utterly self-defeating. Yeah, exactly. There's no point voting for Reform to keep out the Tories and Labour if reform is just as bad as the alternatives? There's just no point, because that's what we've been doing for the past 50 years. We've always been voting for the lesser of evils. And like I said in previous videos, if you're voting for lesser evils, you're still voting for evil. And I can't see the Reform Party doing half the things they say they're going to do. Let's look at what they've done over the last 2 weeks. They've thrown a colleague under the bus, one of their own, simply because he criticised the leadership of the party. Now, I don't trust people like that. I don't trust people to do what they're going to say when they lie, if they're proven liars. And they've been proven to be liars over the last 2 weeks. So I don't trust them one little bit to do everything they say. I just don't. I'm surprised Reform didn't parachute Zaya Youssef into Runcorn, but then he's too toxic, especially at the moment. Yeah, nobody would vote for that guy. There's not a chance. He's nice and safe in his directorship where he's got shares, where he can sit comfortably and know that he can't be removed from power. He wouldn't risk it. He hasn't got the balls to do it. If Farage became PM and he becomes incapable, then the party chairman takes over and we have our first Muslim PM. Yeah, exactly. I really don't think the Reform Party isn't supposed to win anything. I think this is why they're putting all these joker candidates in. It's to lose support. That they were only supposed to remain polling at about 15 to 20%. That's where they were supposed to be. They're supposed to be a placeholder party that stops another right-wing party from forming, but they've blown it. They've been rumbled by people that that's exactly what they are. I've got no doubts in my mind now that the Reform Party is controlled opposition. There's no doubts in my mind whatsoever with how they've been acting over the last 2 weeks and their actions, and it seems like they're deliberately sabotaging themselves just to remain in a certain position. If anyone watched Joy Heretic recently, and the way Farage manipulated every iteration he touched, yeah, and those are all on my community section of my channel, so where I post comments. So if you want to go and check out those things, you can go and watch them there. Doesn't this dividing of the vote always happen in the UK? Political parties, which have, shall we say, a patriotic nationalistic bouquet, are formed. Seems like they're always engineered to fail. Yeah. Zaya Youssef has kicked many people. First Ben Habib, then the Grassroots members and campaigners, and then that lot, then Howard Cox, then Tommy Robinson, and now Rupert Lowe. They're not a patriotic party. They're not at all. They're not patriotic at all. And I've said this before in live streams. I remember Nigel Farage having the 2 union flags either side of him on the run-up to the general election. Then the minute he got in power, those 2 union flags either side of him disappeared and they never returned. It's all for show. It was just all for show. UKIP won't win because Taccone won't appeal to the normies. Reform got so big because Farage does appeal to them. So because Nigel Farage is popular, then that's good that Reform is going to get into power. It should be the party's policies that are making the party popular, not the persona of the person. The party shouldn't be the person. It shouldn't be built around one person, because if that one person, something happens to them, the whole party collapses because it's all been built around them. There's nothing else. There's no substance to it, is there? And again, this is the same kind of argument that was levied against the Reform Party 4 years ago. People were saying, there's no way people are going to rally around Nigel Farage. He's just not popular enough. He just hasn't got it in to run a party. And they were right. He hasn't got it in to run a party, as it's been made quite obvious over the last few weeks. Greetings from the Republic of Ireland. Greetings. So yeah, you're basically in just as much trouble as we are at the minute. You're probably a little bit further along than we are. We've lost London. London's gone. I think you've lost Dublin at the minute. It's been overrun. We don't recognise our cities anymore because they're not English cities anymore. You know, there's no going down to London anymore for a day trip or anything like that to see the sights, because you're either going to get macheted, you're going to get run over by some weird moped nut job, or you're going to get blown up by terrorists. So yeah, and it's more or less I think wasn't Ireland, Dublin named one of the most dangerous cities in the world now, along with London. I think London's actually beating LA now for the most murders. You know, it's nothing to be proud of, is it? That we're the murder capital of the world. Crazy. Reform is dead fish in the water. No one wants it. No, they don't. Literally nobody wants it. Making shit up as he goes along, laugh out loud. It's true. He does. He just makes shit up. And even Gerard Battner said that. Gerard Battner said he would work hard on policy for UKIP, making real policies, and then Nigel Farage would get in front of the microphone and just make up policies that completely override everything that Gerard Batten did, just on a whim. You can't have a leader like that. You need concrete policies that everybody can get behind, and they're consistent. We've seen them flip-flop all over the place, especially Nigel Farage when he gets in front of a microphone, especially on Ukraine. 1 minute, you know, Ukraine was worse than sliced bread. He says it was the most corrupt country in the world, and the next minute he's siding with them. He's just all over the place. Tories Part 2. Nigel always wanted to run the Tories. They hated him, so similarly created his own. Exactly. How you doing, Babs? Babs has been with this channel since, oh God, you've been here a few years now, haven't you, Babs? Too much baggage with UKIP, but they're easily be a part of a Big Tent right-wing party. There needs to be alliances. And I'm hoping that egos can be set aside on both sides and a true alliance can be formed. Because that's what we need. We don't need more infighting. We don't need more parties, egos getting in the way, because we've seen what happens when that happens with the Reform Party. Nigel Farage's ego has destroyed the Reform Party. The Reform Party is really great on paper. It's a really great concept. It could have done great things before Nigel Farage decided to come back to politics. But sadly, that's by the by now. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. I had a 24-hour YouTube for nothing. We must be better off moving to Russia. We'll be treated better there. Oh, yeah. What the French farmers turn up and we have a nice lamb roast. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The French don't, whatever you can say about the French, they definitely do like a good protest. And they definitely don't pull their punches when they're protesting. Reform is going for the others' votes, exactly. And if they go for the others' votes, then they're just going to alienate everybody that put their faith in them. And they're just going to become a mainstream party. They're just going to become another Liberal Democrat party that sits on, you know, about 15 or 12% of the vote. They'll get a few MPs in Parliament, and that'll be it. They won't make any big impact because they've basically U-turned on all their promises. UKIP is growing, no doubt about it. They are growing. And they've announced a new health spokesman today. I forget what his name is. I will might even do a video about that. But they are building infrastructure. They're doing what Reform Party isn't doing. They're actually building up a cabinet of people, spokespeople that can talk about certain subjects that people are interested in, which is something Reform Party hasn't done. This is what Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib wanted them to do, form a shadow cabinet of people. Doesn't matter if they're not elected or they're not in parliament. You've got people that you can push out into interviews and talk about your policies, but they just haven't done that because Nigel Farage wants everything focused around him. He's done the exact opposite to what President Trump did. When with him, he surrounded himself with people that he could delegate power to, strong people that he knew would get the job done. Nigel Farage doesn't do that. Nigel Farage gets rid of strong people because he's afraid they can challenge his power. So he just centralizes all power around himself and doesn't delegate anything. And that's why the Reform Party will fail. I've said this before. Something's cooking. Smells good. Yes. Yes, he is. Tommy Robinson is a political prisoner, and so are many other people in our prisons at the minute. I have prayed today under the twisted spire. You know exactly where that is. We're talking about the crooked spire, by any chance? Exactly, right? UKIP should be like saying, yes, we've got an ally, we've got somebody else that's talking about Christianity, and they're in Parliament and they're bringing it up, because this is what needs to happen. Talking about Christianity isn't something exclusively to UKIP. It shouldn't be. It's something that's spread. We need a common ideology to get behind. I mean, the leftists, they have Marxism. So we need something as well to rally people together, for people to get behind. And this country is a Christian country. It is. It's as simple as that. Just seen a video with an invader kicking off in Little. Yeah, I've seen that one as well. Shouting he is the boss after being booted out by staff because of being disrespectful. For many people that don't know, I did retail security work, and the amount of new arrivals I had to kick out was unbelievable because they were simply disrespectful to the women staff. They would follow them around. They would like sit. I had one guy. He was on the upper level, and sometimes these were young girls. These were like 16-year-old girls that were just doing it for like weekend work until they went back to university or they went back to college and stuff. And I used to do regular patrols around because I knew what times these people come in, and I would deliberately stay on the top level because sometimes there was just like a single girl working on her own, stocking the shelves and stuff like that. And I would always know when they come in because there would be like the bikes, they've all got the bikes, haven't they, the push bikes. They would lock them up outside, and I would know they were in store. And they would stand hide in the corner watching the girls, and it was creepy. So I'd just go up to them and just say, well, what are you doing? Are you in here to buy something? Or are you just in here to stare at the girls? I'd confront them, and they'd just walk off. And I say, we don't do that in this country. You need to leave. And just be firm with them. We don't do that here. That's not how we do things. It's not good. It's not good at all. Nick Tinconi is well-known Christian and a big church. So why should anyone say it's our little religion? It's not. Big Tent around 9 times support for mass deportation. 60% of the electorate. And apparently 56% of Liberal Democrats want mass deportations of illegal immigrants. It's not controversial, is it, really? Most countries do it. If you come into the country, you are deported. Most countries arrest these people. They don't give them asylum. They arrest them. They put them in prison. They serve their prison sentence, and then they're booted out the country. That's the way it needs to be. I agree with Rupert Lowe. There should be no ability to claim asylum if you enter the country illegal, because what you're doing is the actual refugees who come here legally, you're taking it away from them, aren't you? And it's just not. It's not a deterrent. It's like, oh, we can get the country and get free money and free houses and free hotels if we just throw our passports in the water and our phones. We'll get new ones when we get to England anyway, and then yeah, they're well away. We're just stupid. We're not tolerant. We're stupid. You can't fight the other without Christianity. Exactly. I can't stand June Slater now. How can she continue to support reform? It's just Stockholm syndrome at this point. They just can't admit they were wrong. Some people just can't admit they're wrong. When I voted for reform in the general election, I was wrong. And you have to admit that to yourself. It's like, these aren't the people I should have voted for. They aren't what they said they were. We were all conned. And some people just can't admit to that. They can't admit that these people managed to pull the wool over their eyes. And it's a journey. You have to take a journey. You have to admit to yourself, yeah, I was made a fool of. They conned me, but they won't do it again. But some people just can't do that. They can't admit they were wrong. We're in a great place to change everything in 4 years. Exactly. That's what a lot of people keep forgetting. We've got 4 years to build something. And just imagine, right? We don't know what's going on in the background with Rupert Lowe. We don't know if he's in talks with Nick Tenconi. There's some kind of talks going on there. We don't know if Elon Musk is going to fund this new party with Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe. If they do, they're going to get a massive boost, because the major obstacle to most new parties is funding, is getting funding, because they are a new party and nobody really has any faith in what they're going to do. But I think there's going to be a massive surge once they come out with this new party. I think a lot of people are going to shift to them because they can do what the Reform Party and Nigel Farage can't do. They're strong. They're going to be like Donald Trump and Vance are. They're going to be strong against the media. They're not going to take any crap from them. They're just going to be blunt and just say it how it is. They're not going to pander to the mainstream media. They're just going to say, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And the mainstream media either likes it or they don't like it. And they'll be strong. They'll just call them out for being fake news and just rip apart their arguments, because that's something that Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib are really good at. They're really good at debating and taking arguments apart, which is something that Richard Tice and Nigel Farage can't do. Nigel Farage has got a fragile ego. He can't take criticism. He takes it personally. And Richard Tice has got the charisma of a sponge. So there you go. They're just useless. They're going to be weak in Parliament. They already are weak in Parliament. Look at when how many questions came out when they were asking the questions, right? So it apparently turned out that Nigel Farage asked 39 questions in Parliament. Richard Tice asked 120. Rupert Lowe, it was something like 968 questions he'd asked. He was working his arse off. He was doing 46% of the workload of the political party of the Reform in Parliament. That's how much he was doing. So it shows you how serious Farage was about reforming the country, because Nigel Farage, as leader of Reform, should have been hammering Keir Starmer at every Prime Minister's question time with questions, shouldn't he? Or hammering him all the time on different things. Or when he got the ability to ask a question, it should have been something that would, pin him down and make him squirm. And it wasn't. We haven't seen any of these speeches that we saw in the European Parliament from Nigel Farage at all. It's all been weak toast. It's been weak from all of them. From Richard Tice, Nigel Farage. I can't remember the other guy's name. He's irrelevant. Lee Anderson, he's just sat there. He's just in it for the money, isn't he? It's obvious. They're just weak. But the Reform voters won't admit it. The Reform supporters will not admit it, because they've been suckered in. See if we've got any arguments. I'm going to drop the link in the chat in a bit because I want to keep these streams down to an hour. Let's have a look at this. Ben Habib has already torpedoed the new party by saying it's open to everyone, i.e. multicultural party with Muslims, Hindus, Africans, etc., all joining and suppressing the native people's confidence. I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to comment on that because I haven't researched that yet. Exactly. Why protest march in London when nobody's there and speaks our language? Dublin is a nightmare. I've seen the videos. I've seen the videos of what it's like. People are terrorized all the time, and it's no different to here, really. And this is why I was glad to see the Protestants and the Catholics getting together and united, because that's what we all need to do. The home nations, the patriots, we all need to unite as one. It doesn't matter about our past differences. They're irrelevant now. But we've got a new existential threat to our way of life. Our cultures, our societies are being eroded away on a daily basis. Soon we'll have no cultural identities because they'll be gone. They'll be erased forever. And that is something worth fighting for. But like I said, all our past differences need to go away. All egos need to be put away. The only thing that we should be concerned about now is our isles. These beautiful isles that we've lived in for centuries are being taken over slowly and surely by it's not a religion of peace. It's a religion of conquest and enslavement. That's what it is. It's not a religion of peace. That's just propaganda. And we need to fight against it. And that's why we need a strong Christian movement to push back against this rubbish. Personally, I've never found him or Farage charming, but I've noticed a lot of people are pretty different to me. In the last week on TV, Reform have not mentioned one policy, what they would do. Somebody, I mentioned this in another live stream. They were talking about policies. Somebody on X was saying that, we're not just a party of immigration. We've got other policies too. And it's like, well, those other policies don't matter. If our streets aren't safe, if our communities aren't safe, then what's the point in having all these other policies that are going to make the country better if you're not going to deport en masse the people that are already here and the people that present a danger to our people, that make our streets dangerous? There is simply no point in having a higher tax bracket if you can't go out and enjoy the extra money that you've got because you're on a higher tax bracket, because you want to go out to maybe London, have a meal, go out to some pubs. There's no point because it's not safe. We have to make the country safe first before we address the other policies. That's the point. And that should be a priority of any up-and-coming party. And that's what UKIP is. It's the safety of the people. And that should be the priority of any government. But this government at the minute is like a fifth column. It's working against the people of this country. It's like we've been occupied and we're under an occupation force with this government. I feel like a stranger in my own country. I feel like I'm the immigrant, and they're protecting the people that have arrived from me when it should be the other way around. But that's all due to ideology. That's the Marxist ideology. That the Labour Party is just protecting their voter base, who just happen to be that demographic. And you know what I mean. Hey, Templar, how you doing? You're on point. Reform doesn't want votes. Turning the mainstream media on his own voters told me all I needed to know. And now it's turned out that he's forcing GB News to change the headlines. I saw that on X as well, because they were I'll have to make a video about it tomorrow. I've got to do the research on that, but I will do a video about it because it showed you the before and after of the headline. The before headline was being critical of the Reform Party, and then the after was in favour of the Reform Party. So we might have to do a video about that tomorrow. So Karen in the comment, mate, his own media voters told me I need to know, calling them racist, basically saying his supporters are racist. Oh, don't you know we're the radical right now? We're not the far right, according to Farage. The far left calls us the far right, and now Farage is calling us the radical right. Apparently, we're radical because we don't want mass amounts of illegal immigrants in our country, and we want them deported. So that obviously makes us the radical right. So he's taking on the persona of the far left, isn't he, with his rhetoric? See some more comments. You can't fight the militant far left with centrists and atheists. That's why they're right now. Exactly. They've spread throughout all our institutions, and they've spread their woke mind virus. %40 of eligible voters don't vote. And why don't they vote? They've lost faith. They've lost faith in the system. And you can't really blame them. You can't. Because look what happens. In the first past the post system, people just don't win big. Look at Reform Party, 4 million votes. That just translated to 5 MPs in Parliament. It's a joke. Let's not forget, right? Keir Starmer won on less votes than Jeremy Corbyn lost in his general election. So it wasn't a landslide at all when the Labour Party got in. I had to explain this. It's because the Tory vote completely collapsed. They lost complete faith in the Conservative Party because it stopped being the Conservative Party. And that's exactly what's going to happen to the Reform Party if it keeps on the path that it's going. Its core voters are just going to reject it. They're just going to say, no, you're not the party that we wanted. And that's why you're getting all these people cancelling their subscriptions to the Reform Party. I guess lack of faith in people. Yeah, that's exactly right. Rupert Lowe for leader, Ben as deputy, as Rupert is elected, and in that swamp seeing all the rats, Ben Habib. Exactly. America is doing good, unlike Britain, yeah, because they've got sensible people in charge. They're actually helping their country and turning things around, where we've got Keir Starmer basically just wrecking the country. I got banned from Lidl after making a Zimbabwean refugee to get in line. But that was just our dumb, weak Lidl staff. Yeah, because they don't want to be seen as being racist. They've got to virtue signal, haven't they? Yep, exactly. Not late, no notification. Yeah, everybody, you need to click the bell on my channel. If you want to be notified of a live stream or anything like that, you need to click on the bell because YouTube really doesn't like me or my channel. I was shadow banned for a long time. And when I make certain videos, they do hide my channel. So don't forget to click the bell so you get notified. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel as well. I don't like self-promotion, but, every now and again, it doesn't help. Doesn't hurt, does it? Rupert is our man. Not often they come around. I think what it is, you get the leader you need when you most need it. And Rupert is, in times like this, leaders arise. And Rupert is that leader. In World War II, we had Winston Churchill. he rose to the occasion. You need a government to fit the situation that you're in. And the government that the Reform Party would build isn't the government we need. The Reform Party's government they're building would be a government that would have been okay back in the 90s. And it's just not fit for purpose in this era. It really isn't. You need a proper right-wing leader that is going to take the fight into Parliament and really stir things up, not just sit there and just try to be part of the establishment like Nigel Farage, Richard Tice, and the rest of them are trying to be. See if there's any comments. I'm just reading through the comments now. Let's have a look. Great red flag opportunity coming up. If they gain councils, watch the services and your bills. If no change, don't vote for them in 2029. Exactly. This is what I was saying earlier. There's no point having a candidate just for the sake of winning a seat. You've got to have a candidate that wants to actually change things and save the country. And this is what I was saying about that parliamentary candidate for Runcorn. She's not going to change things up. She's not interested in saving the country. She's only interested in saving her own job and her own neck. That's all she's interested in. And this is the danger of having people that constantly defect from party to party. They're looking after their own interests. They jump ship to a party they see as something that's going to give them beneficial. At the minute, she's with Reform because she thinks that she's got an easy way of getting into Parliament through the Reform Party. And I'm telling you, within so many months of being an MP, if she does get elected in Runcorn, she will jump ship and she will probably jump to the Tory Party, back to the Tory Party as a Tory MP, because the Reform Party gave her the pathway to do it. Watch this space. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened. The mainstream media isn't to be trusted. No, they're not. Steve, I had a candidate in my area for UKIP. Wish I hadn't voted for him instead of Reform. I think a lot of people are thinking that way. We did not. Miss B, what did Sponges ever do to you to offend? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Richard Tice. Yeah, Mr. Charisma. Wow. Before Nigel Farage came back, wow, his leadership was awful, wasn't it? He came across as a game show host, a really bad, cheesy game show host from the 1980s. You know, he could have been one of those people. He could have like hosted, you know, Strike It Lucky or one of those sort of things, or you know, The Price is Right. In the final end, only far right parties like Homeland can save Britain by mass No, sorry, no. Any far right party hasn't got a chance in this country simply because it's far right and because of its connections that it will have to certain individuals. People won't vote for that. I think we've already seen that. We've had Patriotic Alternative, they did nothing. We've had the BNP, yeah, I think they got one or two councillors in some areas, but they've not done anything because people won't vote for them. They just won't. It's not our nature to vote for people like that. The main problem is postal voting, scamming. Yep. I think Nigel looks weak in Parliament. Yeah, he does. He's not the same. Let's face it, the European Parliament was just pure pantomime, wasn't it? They had no real power in the European Parliament at all, because any decisions they made or tried to make, then the European Commission could just override them on everything. It was the European Parliament was purely there to give the illusion of democracy, pretty much like our Parliament is now. From what we've been seeing, we know that the civil service actually run the government, not the other way around. So the government is just an illusion. They don't. The cabinet meetings are just fake. Look at what Dominic Cummings said about when he was close to Boris Johnson about how the Prime Minister got his briefings written for him, and he was told what to say in his own cabinet briefings, his own cabinet meetings. We we don't have any democracy in this country. It doesn't exist. No, that's a bad idea. That will get you nowhere. That will just give the establishment everything they need. First Jack's train's wrong channel for that. Right, don't riot. Exactly. Bluebell, until things sorts out, people have got to use their vote to best effect. Yes, they have. Do you want Starmer out or not? Yeah, I do want Starmer out, but not at the expense of putting something worse in, or just something that's the same as Starmer. We'd be swapping one incompetent government for another, wouldn't we? And that's not a good idea. It's like I said, it's the voting for the lesser of evils, something we don't need to keep doing all the time. It's not just about Starmer. It's not just about Starmer. Exactly. And this is what I've said before. This is going to be the election winner for the next general election. It might even be the winner for the council elections as well. It's how strong you are on immigration and wanting to basically deport all the illegal immigrants in this country. Now, a lot of people are just going to come out and they're just going to tell the voters what they want to hear. They are. We've seen it happening with Nigel Farage at the minute. He's been coming out. I've seen it on Dino Bain's channel. Go and watch his videos on this. He's very, very good at analysing these sort of things. He was saying that Nigel Farage is very clever in manipulating the public by saying things and then having a different meaning within them. So it looks like he's talking really, really hard on immigration, but when you look at it, he's not really. Right. Exactly. Both London, Newcastle, Manchester, even Dublin, where no-go places for a weekend or stag do and night. Now, no one would. Even Blackpool at one time, people used to go to Blackpool all the time for the stag do's. You're not going to go there anymore because of the likelihood of it being very, very stabby around that area. Farage Condas for a lot of votes was bought by Zit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That keeps going up the way. Right, down here now. Right, here we go. Yeah, I love Dino Bain's channel. He's great. And obviously, I've got to thank him again. He's the guy that gave me a shout out, that gave my channel a real boost, that started it growing again. So I can't thank him enough for that. And indeed, I want to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel. It's been amazing. Liking, sharing. It's great stuff. Really appreciate it. Another great channel that I like watching. He's not political or anything like that. I watch Crime Bodge, and he deals with how the police use their powers and overreach and stuff like. He deals with cases as well. So if you're ever in trouble with the police or you've been arrested by them, he tells you how to deal with them. And he's really great, Crime Bodge. Go and subscribe to that guy's channel. He's amazing. He just breaks. He's had loads of trouble with the police himself because of his videos breaking down where they've gone wrong and their overreach of the powers that they've used. And he will quote the legislation and show where the police have overreached on. And I love things like that, because it's handy to know as well if you ever get in a situation where you're on a protest or you're about to get arrested and you're armed, because knowledge is firepower, isn't it? Knowledge is firepower. And if you've got knowledge and you're in that situation, you can negotiate with a police officer saying, no, that's not the right bit of legislation. You can't do that. You can't do this. Knowing your rights is half the battle in this new country that we're in now. If you know your rights, you can protect yourself. You really can. I do like Black Belt Barrister, but I think he's got way too much faith in the judicial system. And I think that's because he's a part of it himself. I think because he's too close to it, he doesn't see how corrupt it's become in some circumstances. He gives you a non-sugar-coated version of it, but it's like a cold reaction in some circumstances to the law, when it's a bit more nuanced than just plain law language, if you know what I mean. I do like him though, he is good. Like Crime Bodge, he's awesome, but slightly too concerned with other people's business. But suppose you have to be. Yeah. Yeah, he has to be careful, doesn't he? Yeah, he has to be. Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, Black Belt Barrister. He has to kind of toe that very fine line between criticising the judicial system and, towing the line with them, because I'm guessing that he's still practicing and doesn't want to lose his job. Dino Bane is how I found you, Vindicator. I'm a subscriber of yours now as well. Thanks, Angel Hill. That's awesome. Yeah, Dino Bane's brilliant. Love watching his videos. I didn't actually know about him until another subscriber mentioned him to me, and I started watching his videos and commenting. I think he was like suffered the same situation as me. His channel was shadow banned for a long time, and you don't appear. You just don't appear at all. I've only just realized, if you search for me now, you can find me, and it's only just started happening over the last few weeks since I've gone over a certain subscriber amount. I'm actually on 2,600 subscribers now, and just a few weeks ago I was just slightly below 1,000. So it's grown a lot in the last few weeks. My channel, it's doing good. I'm proud of it, and obviously it's all down to you people coming to my channel, subscribing, liking, and sharing stuff. So I appreciate it. Found you through Dino Bane. Found Dino Bane through Angry Boat. Yeah. Right, guys. I think I've said all that I'm going to say tonight. You put a poll asking who he should shout out with a channel smaller than putting name forward. Yeah, thanks, Bluebell. I actually saw that. Thanks. Yeah. We have a Prime Minister who is in Brotherhoods. Yeah, exactly. Before I go, there's something I want to say as well, right? Because people have been saying to me, well, what can we do? What can we do to fight back? And I've always said this in videos, but I've never given a concrete answers how to do it. And this is not my idea. This is from somebody else. I've watched. I can't remember where I saw it, but I'll try and figure it out, and I'll try and post the video in the community section. But forming communities, and people have always said, well, how do we form communities? Well, in your local area, there's a legal way you can do it. You can start by forming your own neighborhood watch. And that way you can get together with people, you can discuss certain issues, and then you can kind of, put your toe in the water and find out what people are thinking in your local area. It's like a litmus test. And that's the way you can form networks. You can build networks. You can build your own little neighborhood watch scheme, and then you can link up with other neighborhood watch schemes all around your town. That's how we can build communities and stuff. It's not my idea. I'm just promoting it. This was somebody else's idea. It was a legal way of, forming communities and, forming a structure, a network that can talk to each other, if you know what I mean without saying too much. Fight back peacefully words. Yeah, exactly. If you've got access to a computer and you're not scared to go on camera, you don't have to go on camera. You can do what I do. You can do live streams like this and talk about the things that are important to you. That'll help as well. Getting the information out there is important too, as well as being out on the street and protesting stuff. This is what we need to do as well. We can't, like people have said in the chat, we can't just rely on the mainstream media. The mainstream media is propaganda. They're controlled. So we're like a little resistance network, really, aren't we? That, can convey information around large groups of people. I'm only a small channel. Hopefully my reach will get bigger, but we can get information around if we need to. Just quickly get on a live stream and do a live stream, and I can send information to all of you. It's about building networks, it's about building alliances, and it's about preparing, readiness. I have actually already signed the pledge. Better yet, find like-minded folk and start small. Legend fund for your local community. You could do that through the neighborhood watch. That could branch out. The initial thing can be you form a neighborhood watch, but then you can branch out into other things as well. It's just a suggestion. It's just a way of forming a community and testing the political landscape and find out what people are actually thinking in your local area. So it's just a way of doing that. It's also a way of being off social media, where you could be monitored for certain things that you might say. If you're in a group and you're in your own house and you're not online, then you can't be getting a knock on the door by you know who for saying certain things that you shouldn't say. President Trump should ban Keir Starmer from going to the White House again. Oh no, he's going to be Starmer's going to be President Trump's simp. Right, everybody, I think I'm done. I'm going to end the live stream. We're at just over an hour, so I'm going to end it. Exactly. Grassroots is the key. This is where it begins. And if you have groups already in place, that means that you can plan. You can all get together and do leaflet campaigns for whatever candidate you want to support in your local area that you want to vote for. Yeah. Let's get behind Rupert online too. Yeah. Right, guys, enjoy your evening, whatever you're going to do. And I will see you in the next live stream, the next video. Thanks for all coming. Been a really great live stream. I like doing this. I like talking to you guys in the chat. Hopefully next time we can get a few people coming in to have a chat and stuff like that. But take care of yourselves. And remember, the strength in numbers. Form communities. Look after one another. This is Vindicator signing off.